Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Xiaomi A3 drone. Now I've taken a while, I'm taking my time using this and trying just to get a feel for it and to see how well it actually performs. Now what they're stating on the spec sheet is somewhat true, which is really nice to see. For example, it's saying 21 minutes of flight time, but you actually get anywhere between 15 to 18 minutes of flight time on the default battery charger. Now what does that mean? Well, supposedly this battery here is high volt battery, and the charger they provide you with is just a normal LiPo charger. So what you can do to get a little bit more, like maybe 2-3 minutes more flight time, is purchase a different charger. I'll have it linked down below. It's an HV charger that charges via the balance port of like normal LiPos. This is where you would charge this right here. And as you can tell, it's a 3S LiPo here. So theoretically, this is an HV as they're saying. And what they provide you with is just a normal charger. So that charges up to 4.2 volts. So when you charge those extra couple, how much? 1.5 volts, 0.15 volts, then theoretically you should get a little bit more flight time. So I haven't tried that. I've just been using the normal charger it comes with. It takes quite a while to charge since it's charging via the balance ports here, but other than that, it's totally fine. I got 2 of these batteries anyways. So flight time is anywhere between 15 to 16 minutes in my opinion on a somewhat windy day. Now the overall performance of this was good. I expected a little bit more, to be honest, in terms of the video quality. The video quality is usable, but it feels like it's out of focus. And if you go online and you take a closer look at all the videos, you can kind of see it feels kind of blurry. It's not as sharp all over it. It's just, you'll see what I mean. It's not really pixelated. It's good quality image, especially when there's a lot of sunlight and you have a bunch of contrasting colors. But when it's kind of, like just grayed out, then it just looks okay, I guess. But that's the only thing that's holding this back in my opinion. Now in terms of range, I wasn't able to go further than 600 meters, around 50 meters altitude, because of the video feed. The video feed around 500 meters, it'll start going bad, but obviously if you fly higher, you'll get more video feed range. The screen on here is okay, but in the sunlight it's very difficult to see, and I had to go under the building in the corner there, and I was losing connection basically. Not RC link. The RC link was good, just the video feed I was losing quite dramatically. Now in terms of the options that it has, such as selfie mode and all these types of things, I used them, but they felt sort of gimmicky. But I was afraid to use them. I didn't want it to run into a tree or something. I still haven't built much trust in that perspective of this quadcopter, but overall you can use it. It's a really nice entry point. It's almost there, comparable somewhat to the DJIs, but not really. But it's just that level that's above the toy grade. Just almost right into that nice HD recording camera drone. So in that perspective, it's really nice. Now what you do is, obviously you put the SD card in the drone here, and it goes right there under the battery. So in a crash, theoretically, it's really safe in there, and you're not going to have a huge risk of losing it. Kind of like the other Xiaomi, not the newer one, the older one that was recording 4K. That's on the camera itself. So if you ever crash and lose that camera, you also lost the footage. But here's a really nice place. When you put in the battery, it actually just tucks that right away. Tucks that in, and you're not going to run into that issue. So that's really nice in that perspective. You also have a USB here if you wanted to update this, because this does have firmware. And if you wanted to update the camera, you have to do it through the SD card. There's a special way to do it. I haven't updated to the latest just yet, but I think this did have the latest when I used it. But yeah, in that perspective, it's kind of well executed. I wish it was foldable in a way. So in terms of propellers, they provide you with 3 pairs, which means a total of 6. And they're really nice because they're self-locking and they're super easy to put on. So that's it. This thing is on, which is, I really like that, to be honest. I can't wait to actually see this on our FPV quadcopters. So hopefully we get to see this type of propeller soon on our FPV quads. Hopefully that new Popo mounting way was gonna become more available, because I haven't seen much on that just yet. Now especially if you're a noob, this is kind of really nice because it tells you where each propeller would go, and the way to figure that out, if you take a closer look here, you'll see this little red line right there, and if you take a closer look at the propellers, you'll see there's a red line right here. So that means it's gonna go here. So if you didn't know, you just put that in, just slide it like so, twist it, and that's it. It's good to go. Make sure it's not going anywhere. And when you want to take it off, just put it the other way. It'll come right off. I really like the mounting solution. I thought it would be somewhat gimmicky in terms of bad oscillations, but the propellers seem to be balanced very well, which is a really nice addition since these are 7-inch propellers, which is kind of insane for such small motors. Actually, they look like small motors, but their stator size or length or height, I should say, seems to be somewhat large. Now the windings look okay for the motors. I'm actually thinking of purchasing some of these to do some long range or try to get the most efficient setup possible, since we know these can go for around 15 minutes of flight, which is really nice on a 2000 milliamp battery. So it is using a 2000 milliamp battery here. To be honest, I always thought it was a lithium ion packs, but I guess they're lipos. Oh no, they are lithium polymer. Oh no, yep, they're lipo HVs, I guess, so they're not lithium ions. For some reason, I was expecting them to be lithium ions, not that it makes a difference, but we would be able to possibly fly a bit more, but possibly due to the amp draw, you will not be able to put any lithium ion packs in there. Obviously, this is proprietary, but I'm just talking about the development stage of this whole thing here. Now the gimbal stability, it was really stable in the air. I left it on top of me while I was just recording. I was just doing, just walking around to see how stable it's going to be. That day I was also testing all these little cheap FPV cams that I got, and which I think was the video before this possibly. So for example, unfortunately I don't want to say this, but this is an $80 camera HD, which records in 4K in 1080p 60 frames a second, and I would have really loved this type of quality on this one. That would have been an absolute killer, but unfortunately it just feels like it's out of focus, but it's not, because all of them look exactly the same, which is a shame. It could be due to the lens. I don't know what it could be. Maybe just the camera quality. It's still good quality, but not to what I expected, I guess. But maybe I shouldn't have had my hopes up so high, because it is a pretty cheap, decent drone you're getting here. Now, if we go to the controller is somewhat, I wouldn't say counterintuitive, but it just takes some time to get used to. The way to access the menus and everything of that nature is somewhat just counterintuitive sometimes. As you can tell, I still forget how to do this sometimes. There you go. So you go back to choose the flight mode. You can do all kinds of things here. What you want to do, I guess, when you first start is go ahead and double check your GPS modes, GPS settings, because it does have a limit as soon as you get it. And for example, it limits the distance, flight distance at 500 meters. I don't think we could change that. We could actually change that. Yeah, there we go. And you could set the altitude of return to home. You want that around 30 to 50 meters. Depending on where you are, and you can change the velocity and all these types of things. Make sure you check these before you start flying, because you might notice that you're not going to be able to fly more than 20 meters, and that's because of the settings in here that are limiting you from doing that. Return to home, I tried it, it works okay, but I still haven't built much trust in it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. So to boot it up, you press the button that's on the bottom twice, and then it boots up, and here we should start seeing everything here. There you go. So the gimbal on this is a 2-axis gimbal, and what that means is it can rotate like this and up and down, but it cannot go right and left. So I think they have some kind of image stabilization when you're turning. So, and also it's really, really sensitive when you're trying to turn. I tried my hardest just to find that sweet spot. I barely had to move it just to get a nice smooth turning radius, because obviously we're not going to be able to do that through the gimbal, because it's just a 2-axis gimbal. But other than that, in terms of stability or just how smooth the video was, it was really good. The gimbal is doing an absolutely great job. So in terms of a entry package into HD camera drones with a budget, it's pretty good. But if you were just to go for its bigger brother, which is the older version, I think it's better in my opinion. But this one is still good for the form factor. But I would still rather choose to fly that one. I do have both of them. I'd rather fly that one for some really nice footage, even though this one's somewhat decent if you really didn't care that much about footage and wanted some kind of a high altitude look onto something. But if you're trying to grab scenery like a river and getting the nice little ripples in the river, you're not going to be able to capture that. You can just kind of capture the general view of everything, but not into nice detail, and that's where it kind of falls short in my opinion. But again, the price point, you're gonna have to decide that for yourself. Overall, it's a decent HD cam drone. I think that's what we can call it. The gimbal works great. It's really stable. There was no weird jittering, yaws, nothing. There was nothing weird going on with it. It was working just as advertised, I would say. And their official commercial maybe is overhyped. You can kind of tell that they're recording it. I mean, it's flying, and you have another drone on top of it looking at it, and that has better quality. And it might trick you into thinking that's the quality of it, because when I was checking the quality, I was like, I remember the commercial they had on it. It was really great, but then when you kind of take a closer look at the video, then you actually notice these things. So yeah, overall, there's nothing else to say, guys. I'll have a link to everything down below. Please check those out. Those greatly support the channel. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys.